question. This one is for Ria. Ria, what is a bigot
Um,
in your opinion?
a bigot, according to the dictionary, would be a person who is obstinately or intolerantly devoted to his or her own opinions and prejudices, especially one who regards or treats the members of a group with hatred and intolerance, such as a racial or ethnic group. So the first thing that popped into my mind would be what happened in the US on the 6th of January. Even like events that led up to before that, where people didn't believe that Donald Trump actually lost. And then people would ask them questions like, who won the election? And they'd still say, oh, Donald Trump won. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like those kind of people, there's like a lot of people who, yeah, so I feel like those kind of people would like, they were the first people is. It could be people who are against abortion, it can be people who actively prejudice and practice their discrimination towards other groups of people that they don't agree with. It could be um, xenophobics. It could be people who are practicing religious prejudice. It could be xenophobics, ageism, classism, sexism, nationalism, homophobia. Yeah. It could also be hating somebody for disagreeing with you. Yeah. So if somebody disagrees with you or your opinions or whatever you stand for because you're staying loyal to a group that you identify with, and then you practice your bigotry and your prejudice and your discrimination onto them, then that would classify you as a bigot. So I don't know if that applies to like people who would like stand outside of abortion clinics and then they would say you're killing a baby or a fetus or whatever. I
Mhm.
don't I don't know if that would apply to those. In my opinion, it might, but I'd have to do a little bit more reading on that.
Alright. Thank you, Ria. Would anyone else like to answer the question? Or can we move on? Tabo? Milani? All right, cool. The next question is for Tabo. What is discrimination? What would you define discrimination as in your opinion, Tabo?
All right. Well, in my opinion, I feel like discrimination is the thing that we try to label racism as. I feel like everyone can discriminate towards someone. Everyone can, whether that be on race, sex, age, whatever. That's what I feel like discrimination is.
All right.
That we try to put on everyone. Well, not everyone can be racist, but everyone can discriminate, and discrimination is wrong. And also, I didn't want to add on to the last thing because I think Lilo covered it very well. I just wanted to put that up there.
All right. All right. Thank you so much, Tabo. Does anyone else have anything to add to what is discrimination? Michaela?
I don't know, nothing like too deep. I just think that it really is just like the ill treatment of people purely based on like their disability or their age or sex or their race, like we're speaking of now. Yeah, it's just when you treat someone bad because of the way that they are, something that they can't change.
All right. And you, Milani, would you like to add on to that?
No, it's essentially just unjust treatment based on a different disability, race, or sex. I think Michaela more than captured that.
Okay, moving on to the next question. This is a big one. This one is for Milani. Do you think equity such as BEE being put into place put other people of color at a disadvantage because they aren't viewed rather as black enough?
No,
All right.
definitely not. Public policy identifies Black people as not just people that look like me, but people that are Indian and colored, as well as recently the Chinese Association of South Africa actually appealed towards the High Court, and they too are now can now be identified as Black people and receive the same empowerment. So it can't do that because they're Black people according to public policy. So it would be weird if it did.
Okay, cool. All right. Hi, Sam. Hi, guys. Everyone, just welcome, Sam. We can't hear you. You're muted.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, the question was, do you think equity such as BEE being put into place put other people of color at a disadvantage because they aren't viewed as black enough? Do you have anything to add on that?
I really don't think so, because Melanie made a really good point about how what is defined as Black has the spectrum has broadened to not just include Black people, like all people of color are being slowly added to be a help, like assisted with BE. So I don't think so.
Thank you so much, Sam. All right. To the next question, right? This one is for Tabo, firstly. What are your thoughts on the quota system?
Before I even jump into the quota system, I wanted to talk a bit about BEE because I wanted to say that, well, I feel like they both kind of tie in with each other. With the quota system, like a lot of people are against it, and they say it maybe these systems sit in place for colors mostly for Black people, which isn't the case. The first Black Springbok wasn't even a Black person; it was a colored person, and his name was Chester Williams. Um, and a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't help us, but like 50%, I think 50% of the Springbok team has to either be Black or colored players, and quite a few colored players and Black players made the team. So I feel like I'm for the quota system. And BEE, I don't think it's perfect. I feel like there's a lot of things that could be changed and made it better. But I feel like the whole conversation where it's like other groups not being included is false. Maybe they're not included as much as they could be, but that whole narrative that they're not being included is just not true.
All right. Thank you, Tabo. Milani, in your opinion, what are your thoughts on the quota system?
I mean, I suppose to a large extent, I definitely understand why the quota system is in place. More like a lot of reformative measures is to basically aid injustices of the past and to ensure that there's representation. My view on that is that, well, I think with Springbok, they really got it right with the Springboks. They really got all the players of color. They are just brilliant. But my concern is competency, right? I think those who are against the quota system want the most competent, right?
Yeah.
And not just by color, right? But then again, it's weird when you're seeing a team, it comes into play that while there's many factors that go up against Black people to be in a position where they can be in the team and stuff like that. But yeah, essentially the identify sincere I think is good, but I think competency. Yeah.
All right. Chad, do you have anything to add on to that? Ooh,
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about like competency and things like that. But I think it's a case of like you need to get into like a sport, you need to see like someone that represents you. So a Black person, a colored person, whoever that represents you and that you can identify with. But I feel like it's a surface level change. So like it's only like, for example, like the national teams, like, oh, okay, so we have to have this number of Black players, this number of colored and Indian, or so on and so forth. The Black and, but there needs to be a greater, how can I say, something that helps to make it to either EP or like the provincial team. So there needs to be something with helping the township schools with whether that's giving them facilities or playing matches against them or anything. Just there needs to be greater change and infrastructure to help this change at the top. If you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I hear you. Tabo, I see you raised your hand.
Yeah, I just raised my hand to say that I completely agree with Chad. I was gonna say exactly what he was gonna say. He added it in the end himself, saying that there needs to be a change in like township schools and colored schools. And I also wanted to say like we shouldn't have to go to Model C schools or predominantly white schools to excel at the highest levels. We need to be able to stay in our own areas, our own comfort zones, and be able to excel. So I completely agree with Chad.
Okay. Any of the ladies have anything to add on? No? All right. The next question is, what is systematic racism? And Chad, that one is for you. In your opinion, what is systematic racism?
Um, so it's racism that is so deeply entrenched in institutions, and they are part of a clear strategy and a plan to either exclude or vilify a specific group of people, regardless of what that's based on. But that is what systematic racism is. It's a clear plan to vilify and exclude a certain group from an institution or whatever it may be.
Right. Thank you, Chad. Sam, in your opinion, what is systematic racism? You all right.
Yes, I unmuted myself. I completely agree with Chad's definition of it. Like systematic racism is something that runs really deep, and like it's not something that can be overcome easily. Like in the past, how many, like 20 something years that apartheid has been over, it's wrong to think that we've overcome systematic racism. Like there's such a long way still to come. Like it might not seem as like obvious to people, like, oh, this is a form of systematic racism. It's more like in the details, like the small things that you see yourself being excluded because of your race or like where you come from and stuff like that.
All right. Thank you. Milani, in your opinion, what is systematic racism? Yes.
So systematic racism in a nutshell is basically just a combination of systems, institutions, and factors that essentially, while systematic racism as how it's been would be a combination of system and institutions that have favored white people and caused widespread harm and disadvantage to Black people and have caused an inadequacy of opportunity towards Black people too. That would be systematic racism. But in layman's term, systematic racism is basically institutions that disadvantage a certain group. But the example would be how white did it for Blacks.
The example would be what?
How whites did it for Blacks towards Blacks.
Tabo, what is your definition of systematic racism?
I agree with everything that everyone said, but I would say that like systematic racism could also be like how we living right now. I mean, the fact that everyone stays so far from Summerstrand. Like a lot of Black people have to travel really far distances to go to Summerstrand, to go to work. Even with colored people, we're so far out from all of these places that we'd really like to go, or all the nice housings that we so far out. I honestly feel like we still live in apartheid, and that's a form of systematic racism. I mean, when you I think it's the garden routes. If you had to take that on your way to Cape Town, and you see all the holiday houses, and you're like, oh wow, that's really nice, and it's majority white people staying there. And then right after that, it's just shacks of just Black people and colored people staying in these worst conditions. So honestly, I feel like that's systematic racism. And like a lot of people like to say, oh, apartheid's over and whatever, but the effects of that are still here. That's all I think.
Ria, in your opinion, what is systematic racism?
I couldn't have said it better than everybody did, especially Tabo. Like I didn't even think about the whole Summerstrand situation. But it's something for me, it's a kind of racism that is so deep within our society that it's normal to treat everybody like when you see these things happen, everybody just says these things happen. You mean you look at the statistics, like Black people are more people of color are more likely to be shot by the police more than their white counterparts. Black people are more likely to be rejected at universities. Black people are more likely to be rejected at schools. Black people are more likely to be declined for renting and buying houses. There was actually a huge thing about that was so normal that when I guess slavery was less normalized and when Black people started getting their rights, whenever Black people would move in a majority white neighborhood, the value of the property would go down. Real estate agents would scare like their white counterparts and say, hey, you can't move into this because you're gonna have Black neighbors and blah, 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 blah. And then somehow the value of the property would go down just because Black people were living in it. But that's in the history. But that doesn't mean that my neighbors don't get scared of me whenever they see me outside, or they don't get scared of my brother because he's walking outside, you know? And it sucks that these things are normal and people are watching it and they just say these things happen. But that's what systemic or institutionalized racism is for me.
Thank you, Ria. Thabo, I see your hand is up.
To add to what Lita wanted to say, I wanted to say that like also with like I've noticed also with neighborhood watches, when people are like in like predominantly white areas, neighborhood watches will most likely see you as a threat. And I've had a friend who stayed in Sherwood for years and he's always walking around, yet the neighborhood watch have arrested him 3 times. And they know very well who he is and he's a resident there. And he doesn't do anything illegal like smoking or drinking, none of that. And they've arrested him just for not even loitering around, just walking around. So I feel like that's also another point of systematic racism, being seen as a threat.
All right. Does anyone else have anything to add? Should we move on to the yes, Ria?
I'd like to add to what Thabo said with the whole thing. I mean, I didn't know that would still happen, but then it made me think of a video of what I once saw. There was this Black dude who was walking around like in the neighborhood, and this white lady just decided to follow him and released an attack dog on him. Like, these things are happening today in 2021, even though apartheid and slavery were over. Like, Black people aren't really like threats, you know, and it really sucks to hear these things that are happening right now. So I just wanted to add on what Thabo said.
Right. Thank you, Ria. Okay, so last question for everyone. Milani, you can start us off here. Do you believe, or in your opinion, can Black people be racist?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Black people can be racist.
And why?
To be racist, well, obviously that would be because I'd be consistent to my definition of racism.
All right.
Which obviously states that it's discrimination based on one's skin.
Right.
And not necessarily on what the other side, I'm sure, is going to say is racism equals to power dynamics plus prejudice. And if Black people do it, it's only prejudice. I tend to disagree with that, simply because you're saying, well, first of all, I disagree when you say Black people don't have power right now.
Okay, unpack.
You may try push that in America, but if you can look at South Africa, which is a democracy, you know that we're made out of 3 branches, correct? Legislative, judiciary, and executive. You tell me what you see in the legislative branch, while our parliament is predominantly Black. Correct?
Correct.
Cool. The executive branch, our president is Black. Cool. And economically now, I'm not saying things are great, but a lot of middle class people, a lot of the middle class and the middle class, which makes the dominant amount of the taxes paid, are also made out of Black people. So with that being said, even if we were to argue it within your definition, then Black people can be racist. But without that too, it doesn't even need power. Racism is racism. My problem with it has too many consequences to say that a Black person can't be racist, man. It's basically what you're saying is, I want to say it's dehumanizing because you're stripping a human of their capability to do something.
All right.
Right? It diminishes the accountability that comes from a Black man. It's better for a Black man to acknowledge that he can be racist and choose not to than to say, you could never do that because you're Black. I think it's a problematic notion that people carry out of being rebellious, but nonetheless, Black people can be racist.
All right. I see Tabo has his hand up there, so he probably just wants to say something. Tabo, on to you.
All right, just let me put my hand up here.
Son.
Okay. I just wanted to say that a lot of people love to bring that up and say that I'm taking accountability away from Black people. Really, I'm not. I said that Black people.
Let me stop you there. Okay, so just answer the question. Do you think Black people can be racist?
No,
Okay.
I don't think Black people can be racist.
And-
Let me answer why. Though.
All right.
I'm not saying that we can't discriminate and mistreat people. I'm not saying that we can be prejudiced towards other people. When that happens, it's not okay. You can't mistreat a white person. You can't say horrible, discriminatory things towards a white person. It always will be wrong, but it can't be racist. And to answer the points that you made, where you said we in parliament, yes, we do have political power, but who owns most of the economy still? White people. Who owns 70% of the land still? White people. In most of the places in our country where it's really thriving, if you think about it, you can even see it here in PE. It's mostly white spaces, and that's just a fact.
Okay.
But like, wait,
okay,
I'm not done yet though.
Okay,
I will let you
yeah.
answer, Milani. I will let you answer.
Okay,
other
wait,
thing-
wait. Michaela had her hand up first.
Okay. Boy, I'm still finishing on what I'm saying though.
Yes, we'll come
Now,
back. to you.
I'll let Michaela. Okay. The other thing I wanted to say though is that Black people are still a large number in poverty. And again, to go back to my definition of racism, racism is discrimination and power. Until the people at top who are clearly not helping us, the things that they're doing, the corruption that they're doing is affecting Black people the most. Until the political people, if they had to put in policies in place that were putting us ahead of white people and white people were losing and being hurt by those policies, then that would be racism in my definition. But that's not what's happening. The 1%ers that are Black are not helping us out. We're still suffering. The corruption that they're doing is not helping anybody else but themselves. So that's my definition of racism. Just because a few 1%ers of Black people are in there doesn't mean now we can be racist as well. That's how I see it.
Okay, so are you saying that your definition of racism has, okay, you to say it has to do with power. Michaela?
Okay, this is just my opinion on the matter. I understand completely what Top was saying because he's kind of directing it at white people. He's saying that Black people can't be racist towards white people. However, the other half of me does identify as Indian, right? And I've worked in hospitality for majority of my life. And I will say that there's many times where Black people have been racist towards me for being Indian. And like saying like Indian racial slurs and like, oh, you're cheap, you don't want to use your money because you're Indian. That's also racist. So personally, I believe that Black people can be racist towards other people of color, but not white people. And that's what I think. Because it's wrong to say, oh, a Black person can't be racist to you because of the things that they went through. So then what does it mean when a Black person calls me a coolie? Or when a Black person says things about the fact that I'm Indian? Is that okay? Is it just discrimination? I don't think so. I think that's being racist. So again, I'll say I think Black people can be racist towards other people of color, however, not white people.
Okay, that is an interesting point. Milani, you wanted to answer Tabo?
Okay, so I want to ask a question to those that obviously believe that Black people can't be racist. Okay, let's say, do you believe that the Black people, Tabo, do you believe that the Black people that are the 1%ers, as you said, can be racist towards, let's say, a white man, a poor beggar? Because economically, he's higher within the dominance hierarchy and socially too. And do you think that those people can be racist?
No, I don't think they can be racist. He's being a bigot and he's discriminating towards him. But just because he's discriminating against a poor white man, that does not affect the other race. That doesn't affect the other people that still hold power.
I have a question for you, Tabo. Okay, so you said he's being a bigot. What is your definition of a bigot? Is it the same as Ria?
I'd say being a bigot is someone that is ignorant, someone that discriminates towards other people. That's just basically my definition of a bigot.
Okay.
Oh, and to answer Jose,
Tabo, you are muted. Tabo, you are muted.
sorry, I'm muted.
Yeah,
Was I muted?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry to answer the chat message, but someone named Jose said, check the definition of racism. To answer you, I have. And in the definition of racism on Google, it says to marginalize another group. Black people have never marginalized anybody in no history before. And to say, that's what I'm trying to say. You can't even say the 1%ers are marginalizing anybody because there's no policies that are marginalizing white people. And the things that they're doing, if anything, are hurting Black people the most. That's
So,
just the-
Okay, wait, Tabo and Milani, just let me. Ria, can you please answer the question for us there? Then we'll go on to Sam and Chad, and then we'll come back to you guys.
I didn't think Black people can, or I don't think that Black people can be racist. I agree with Michaela. That was a very interesting point. I never thought about that before. But Black people, I guess they can somehow be racist towards other people of color. But when I was thinking about the question, when I did my research about this, what I realized was Black people can't be racist towards white people, because if they had to be racist, there would have to be like, again, there are a lot of things that go into racism that go beyond the dictionary definition. History, power, the system, like Tabo mentioned, there aren't any specific policies that allow people of color to discriminate against white people. I guess that like how Michaela said, I guess people can see that as like BE and affirmative action and all of that, but it's really not. I mean, see, now I didn't think about Michaela's point about Black people being racist towards other people of color. I mean, the racial, I mean, I guess it all depends on like what your definition is. But at the end of the day, it really, things are way beyond the eye. Like things are way beyond they seem. Things are way deeper than like what you read on Google, you know? So I don't think Black people can be, because like, again, we said, because okay, 7 minutes left. Because again, I said, historically speaking, Black people of color have never been racist, unless if you're going to count when the British tried to colonize over Ethiopia and they lost. First of all, what were they even doing there? Powerly speaking, if you look at like, again, the top 100 richest people in the entire world, at least 60 of them, a majority of them are going to be white. And systemically speaking, like I could apply for a job right now and I could not get it simply because my name is harder to pronounce. It really goes beyond just Black people can't be racist towards white people. No, towards other people of color, yeah, maybe, but not towards white people.
Okay, Chad, do you think that people can be racist?
Yes, I do. I completely get what Tabo and Ria are saying, but that's just a case of the system of apartheid and how everything that came with it, like how it gave white people benefits and it moved all the people of color away from the white areas like SummerSlam and things like that. I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be changed over time. It's not going to be 10, 20 years, whatever. So yes, I understand what you're saying about that, but Black people can be racist. Like Michaela said, to Indians, to colored, we do exactly. But to simply say and that because we don't have this thing, if we don't have this power and the economic power as well and things like that, to say that simply because we don't have this, we can't be racist it absolves you of responsibility of making the world in general and the country of moving us forward to simply I don't have the economic power so I can't be racist. I think that's just, I don't believe in that.
All right. Sam, in your opinion, can black people be racist?
I do not think black people can be racist towards white people, but I completely agree with Ria and Michaela when it said they can be racism towards other people of color. Because
So wait, just to clarify, you say they cannot be racist towards white people, but towards other people of
Yes.
color. All right.
yes, but it's less the term racism. I don't like to use the term racism when referring to like racism between people of color. I'd rather we use the term like racial prejudice,
Okay.
because racism implies that discriminatory terms and these stereotypes and presumptions, you have some sort of power over them to like systematically like oppress them. That's
Okay.
what my definition of racism is, like having the upper hand on all systems. So to say that black people are racist towards white people, I do not think, because what power does the black man hold over the white man? Like actually in the majority scale, like what power does he hold over him? So, but in terms of like POC racism, I think it is more of a thing to have a discussion on, because it is very prevalent. Like you can see in the different prejudice, different like racial groups, like the views that coloreds hold on black people on Indians, Indians on coloreds, stuff like that. It's very like, you can see it. You see like the racial prejudices, but I don't want to call it racism, because racism implies that whole group that has marginalized this group and how their views on this group and how their views disadvantage this group. So yeah, that's my views on it.
Tawel, you raised your hand.
I raised my hand because again, I just want to reiterate this. Milan, can you please tell Milani to go next, because he's had his hand up for quite some time.
Okay,
Sorry,
cool.
I noticed that. Anyway, I just want to say that people keep bringing up the fact that like they kind of making it seem like I'm saying it's okay. We can discriminate towards white people. We can discriminate towards anybody and mistreat them. Again, I'm not saying that. That is not okay. It's not okay to mistreat anyone based on anything. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that you cannot call me a racist because I do not have power over you. I do not have a head advantage over you. When things are more in place for you, they're not for me and people that look like me or colored people. So that's all I have to say.
Okay, Milani. Your hand is up.
I mean, I don't know if anybody else has noticed, but basically the other side has just literally told you and have laid their cards out that power has nothing to do with it. How can you be racist towards Indian people and black people and then not towards the other? That's inconsistency in logic and reasoning, as well as a contradiction towards your whole argument. If you can't be racist, then you can't be racist. You can't be racist here, and then you say, okay, we can't be racist there. Then that means that, okay, clearly the power dynamic or the systematic oppression is not the bottom line. If, as Michaela has stated, a black man can be racist towards an Indian, but how then is he not a racist if it's, you basically devalued your argument so it's not central towards power. Racism is just discrimination. And that's what you've said. You guys are trying to take my side. Black people can be racist. I can hear it.
Okay,
simple.
Milani. Milani, let me stop you there. Ria and Tabo, I'll come to you guys now. I see Reez put his hand up over there. So Reez, you can ask the question. Reez. Hey, Reez.
Hello, hello,
Yes, we
hello.
can.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is it working? Okay,
Yes.
cool. So following the logic beforehand that shared and so according to the people beforehand, black people can't be racist towards white people because of the power dynamic.
Yeah.
So black people towards white people fall under the same category because of what happened in India with the British people oppressing India, slaughtering them, all of those systems. Would that then apply to Indian people as well? So Indian people can't be racist towards white people.
No, Indian people can't be racist towards white people. And now to answer Milani's question, I was actually trying to not answer that, but fine. I will answer the question. I'll say this. No, black people cannot be racist towards POCs as well, because we haven't marginalized any POCs either.
Let me
And-
stop you, Thabo, let me stop you. So, okay,
Have you seen?
wait,
can I-
just wait, please. Just wait.
Can I just ask something?
Okay.
Oh, have you ever been to your neighborhood like convenience store, your Pakistani store, or barber when it's an Indian barber? Have you ever seen what those guys go through from people of color? It's not white people being racist towards them, calling them Pakis, making fun of their accent. It's all people of color. That's all it is. Discrimination against them, their accents, where they're from. It's not anything about power. It's just these people, they sound funny and they're Indian. Ha 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 ha, Paki, ha ha. That's all it is. And I know you guys have seen how that works in like your neighborhood stores, especially in the hood. Especially when you go to the hood, those guys get treated like dirt. They come thousands of kilometers from their home country just to get here and treated like ass. Nah. Okay, that's me done. I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ria.
I hear what Reese said, and I think I agree with him. But like, I wanted to answer more with like Milani. I mean, and Chad. I hear what you guys are trying to say with the whole like, if you can't say black people can't be racist, then you're taking away the accountability. But at the same time, it's like, it's not like black people can go tomorrow and like colonize Europe. You know, like. And it's all like I read on the news the other day that white people still think, like big white scientists still think that the way they don't understand the way Africa is working so well with the coronavirus, because the whole of the Africa's coronavirus cases, they're less than what the US is or like the UK is in total. So, and then they still think that black people have like these parasites that make them immune or that eat the virus. I mean, black people can't say that about white people, and it's not like black people can go over tomorrow and be like, hey, I feel like beating a white man today. Because like, if a white man can beat up a black person, he is less likely to be punished for it. But if a black man even like flinches or does anything or throws anything at a white person, he will get the severe punishment than what the white person would do to him. So I hear what you're saying about the whole entire accountability, but it's not like black people can do what white people did to us for centuries on end. You hear me? I mean, and Milani, it's not black and white. It's not like racism is like a black and white thing. Like it really goes beyond like what you see, like what you read, the definition. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but I'm thinking it's really not that black and white. It goes way beyond what we see and what we understand. I mean, I don't even understand it.
Okay,
Can I say
Milani.
something? I mean, I can, to a large extent, I can understand what the other side is saying in terms of, you know, while white people did something with their racism, I'll give them that. They really went with it, right? So if a white man were to be racist, how it's received now, it's completely different than what if a black person is racist, because while historically white people have taken their beliefs that black people, which was, well, white supremacy as a concept, and believing that black people are generally the inferior and lesser race, and have used that to marginalize black people across many institutions, from Jim Crow laws to even apartheid laws more locally. I can say that obviously a white man's racism has history with it, and that can be received as worse off than what a black person being racist, but it's still racism.
Okay. Chad, you said you wanted to answer Ria's question.
Yes, so what Ria was saying now about how scientists don't understand how Africa is dealing with the coronavirus this well, or how Black people will get more severely punished than a white person, for example. Those are cases of systemic racism. So it's these people have grown up with the idea that black people are dangerous, or that Africa is inept and can't handle things, and America is this golden land that's perfect and does everything. That is systemic racism as a result of America with Hollywood. America's always the place that survives in zombie movies, or they're always the ones getting attacked by some alien or something like that. It's a case of they have been brought up to view this continent and this group of people as inept, and they can't do things properly, so they need it's the white savior complex, basically. But that is systemic racism, and that doesn't mean that because these people have these views that Black people can't be racist, because you can still be racist within a systemic racist institution that is racist towards you and your group of people. If you get what I'm trying to do.
Okay, Chad, Ria, before you answer Chad, we have a question here from Jose. He says, how does racism have attributes such as magnitude? Racism is racism, as Ria said earlier. If you discriminate against another person because of their ethnicity, you are racist, regardless of what ethnic group you are part of. So what do you guys have to say about that? Tabo, in your opinion, I see your hand is up.
Well, I've already answered him. I don't believe there is levels to racism. To stay consistent, like Milani said I should, racism is discrimination and power. But to further why I think Black people can't be racist, I just want to add on to why I think this. It's because during apartheid, right, colored people were given certain privileges, and Indian people were given certain privileges in apartheid. And that was done so to make them feel like they were better than Black people. And anything closer to Blackness was considered, oh, that's horrible. I don't want to be, don't call me Black. Or like, even like, you know, if you had to mistakenly speak closer to a colored person you think is Black, they'll be quite offended by that. Like, don't associate me with that Blackness. But anyway, the only reason why they gave them that privilege was to continue to divide and conquer. And the reason why I bring that up is to show you ways in how colored people were involved with the racism that white people have started to further oppress Black people. And that still continues to this day, where certain Indian and colored people would not want to be associated with Black people and in Black spaces.
Okay.
That's all I have to say.
Okay, Milani, do you have anything to add?
So now Tabo's saying that it's not, Tabo's basically telling us that the one who's at the lowest part of the hierarchy can't be racist. And now it doesn't matter who the oppressor is, because Indians don't oppress Black people. Tabo, how have Indians systematically oppressed Black people?
They've systematically oppressed Black people by being a part of that. Look, Milani, look it up. Gandhi was a racist. When he came to South Africa, he said, Gandhi was a racist. This is true. This is fact.
Okay,
when Gandhi came to South Africa, Gandhi said, please don't associate me with these Kafirs. We are not the same. Don't associate me and my people. He thought white people were the best thing ever, but don't associate me with Black people. And that's the truth. A lot of Indian people and colored people hold that mentality and still do to this day. And that is them continuing white supremacy, continuing white racism. Sorry, see, so I'm gonna stop. I see.
Let me stop you there. Michaela, it seems like you have something to add there.
I don't really necessarily have anything to add. I'm just like getting upset. Like, you know, I should get upset because like this is, I'm sorry, but this is nonsense. Like, I don't understand how you're saying that Black people can't be racist towards Indian and colored people because we had privileges during apartheid. We were still discriminated against. We still had to go through apartheid. colored people and Indian people weren't with the white people. We were still told to live somewhere. We were still told you have to sit at the back of the bus. We were still told you can only pee here. Just because it was less of a discrimination, it doesn't mean that now you can't be racist towards me. Because just like Reese was saying, you go to a barber and people are making fun of his accent. Is that not racism? You're saying it's not because, oh, he was held higher. His family was held higher during apartheid, so you can't be discriminated against. That's nonsense. It's still racism. It's still rude. It's just blatantly rude.
Okay, let's just calm down, Kayla. Just calm down. Okay, guys, we are actually running out of time. But you guys can continue this in our Facebook page, on our Facebook page in the comments, or you can go to Instagram and go on over there, or I'm joking. But with that, we have come to the end of our first Tap In Tuesday session. Thank you to our panel members. Thank you, Milani, Chad, Michaela, Tabo, Ria, Sam. Thank you, Mira, who's also been watching. Tune in next time, all right? In our next Tap In Tuesday, stay safe and healthy, be responsible, play your part. Let us stand equally together. Do you guys have anything to add?
Short. Bye. Thanks. This was really fun. Actually. This was actually tons of fun. No, this was tons of fun. Please let me know when the next one is.
I shall. Facebook guys, thank you.